welcome to another episode of Spotlight Sessions. My name is Elon Fisher, the host, and today I'm super excited to be chatting to Jon Collins. Jon is relatively new in his role as the Chief Development Officer at HopeAir Canada. How's it going, Jon?
It's going great. Just a pleasure to be here today, and still new and still feeling the passion for work every day. So I'm doing well. Thank you.
Awesome. So we spoke a little bit off camera about you being new in this role, and I was really interested to hear a little bit about your career up to date and really what brought you to HopeAir.
Yeah, thanks for asking. I mean, I'm a career nonprofit professional. The truth is, I spent most of that at one organization. Until 6 months ago, I was with Parkinson Canada, where I had a whole range of roles, which was fantastic. It allowed me to connect with people impacted by Parkinson's here in Canada and really learn just the way that charity and many charities work. So spent much of my career there, most recently as Vice President Marketing and Fundraising. And gosh, was really happy with that role and the work that we were doing. And then along comes HopeAir. I hadn't heard anything about the organization, and to be honest, I didn't know very much about the niche that we fill and the important work that we do. And I know you and I will get into that, but I guess what brings me here is I learned about it. The job spec landed in my inbox, and I was just struck by the importance of the issue and the opportunity that is there to help all Canadians understand the importance of that issue and really hopefully help this organization scale and grow so that we can support more Canadians help getting to vital medical care.
Amazing. And I actually, as you were saying that, I realized that I've worked with Parkinson's Canada before. Incredible team, worked in their digital marketing team too. So Jon, I would also love to know, you mentioned a little bit, but what is the issue that HopeAir is looking to solve?
Yeah, so we exist to bridge the distance between home and hospital for Canadians in need. And what that really means is that, here in Canada, we have universal health care, which means that you're covered, you're supported in all of your healthcare needs. But access to that healthcare varies greatly across the country depending on a number of factors, including where you live and your financial situation. So we've existed since 1986 to make sure that no one is left behind in accessing the healthcare that they need. And again, I think about myself 6 months ago. I live and work in an urban center, and if I have any ailment, significant or otherwise, I can kind of walk down the street to a hospital, some of the best specific treatment centers in the country for any range of illnesses. And I take that for granted, and I think many people do. The reality is in this country, especially because Canada is so geographically diverse and dispersed, there are people living far from those urban centers, which means that specialty care isn't always available to them. So, you can imagine being diagnosed with a unique form of cancer in, say, Northern Ontario, where the nearest specialty treatment center is 1,200 kilometers away. Some people are able to make that work by paying for their own flights or driving regularly or maybe moving in with a family member or something of that nature. For other people, that is a significant barrier in terms of the time spent traveling, the expense of that, having to leave their homes, having to leave the community they love, going into debt, whatever the issues may be. So, that was a long-winded answer, but in short summary, HopeAir exists to help people answer those questions, to get them directly to the health care that they need, and then to allow them to focus on their health.
And when it comes to your role in development, what are some of the challenges that you saw in this space when you came in, and what are some of the initiatives that you're running to try to solve those challenges?
Yeah, and again, I just run it right through my own frame of reference, and I was struck by the fact that what I've just described, I think, is an incredibly compelling and important cause, but I knew nothing about it, even as someone who worked in the charitable sector for almost 15 years. And, that's not uncommon. Job interviews aren't the best way to educate people about the importance of your issue, and we really just want to make sure that awareness of this critical issue becomes kind of more commonplace in Canada. And then through that, I believe that people will be ready and eager to support it. Folks who do have access to healthcare are aware of that privilege, and I think eager to make sure that others have the opportunity to access it. So I guess to answer your question, I think the biggest challenge that we have to date is simply scale and awareness. When people understand who HopeAir is and the importance of the work that we do, they are ready to support. We have an incredibly strong base of loyal and committed donors across all programs, foundations, corporations, individuals. And so for me, the issue is really just making sure that people across this country understand the issue and are aware of the organization. So what are we doing to address that? Well, we're focusing on awareness. We're focusing on frank and important conversations around this issue, and really just making sure that our brand gets out there. One specific project is a new website relaunch as part of that, which really just tells our story very clearly and speaks to the issue here in Canada. So ultimately, that's what brought me back to accessiBe. You mentioned your work with Parkinson's Canada, and that's how I became familiar, actually. And so when we were building this new website, it was one of the first thoughts that we had to make sure that it was accessible and people were able to access our site with all needs. So so that's what brought us to accessiBe, this exciting new website launch that hopefully is going to help us as part of a broader marketing strategy to reach all Canadians.
And what you said about kind of the awareness factor is something that we've really been struggling with as well, because when you're marketing to a person with a specific privilege, it's difficult for them to always find and empathize. So there has to be some sort of creative way or initiative to really get people to really deeply understand that issue.
Yeah, and absolutely. And actually, it's kind of what our marketing campaigns will center on, right? Is I don't know, breaking through the barrier of people's own frame of reference and helping them empathize and understand that one frame of reference is not the only way that people experience healthcare, or again, people experience access in your case, right? So that's exactly what we're doing, and I think there's a whole lot of creative ways that we can achieve that. We're starting quite literal and just explaining the work that we do, but again, we have an ad set up in City Centre Airport here in Toronto, Billy Bishop City Centre Airport, and it's just showcasing people fly for different reasons, right? When I walk through an airport, I'm thinking about a vacation or perhaps a business trip or going to visit my family. I'm not thinking about the people that are walking through that same corridor who are traveling because they have a critically serious cancer, or they have a specialty eye condition that they can't get treatment for at home. And so we're helping them think of that in that space to break through the noise, I suppose, and to break through that limited worldview that we all have, which is our own frame of reference.
I really like that, and it reminds me of a story I had last week when I was at a conference, and somebody gave me their business card, and the back of the business card had Braille. So they gave it to me with the Braille app, and I was looking at it, and she was like, "Do you understand this?" And I said, "No, I don't read Braille." And she says, "Well, this is how somebody who hasn't lived your experience might experience something." So I really like that marketing angle. I don't like to call it angle. I like just to call it, I like that marketing initiative. And kind of talking on the idea of marketing initiatives as well is, I always ask people on the podcast what their definition of accessibility is, because when I think about accessibility, I'm namely thinking either about the built environment or the web. But when you think about accessibility, it might be something more about being able to access medical care, or through your experience at the Parkinson's Foundation. So I'd be very interested to kind of hear what your take on that would be.
Yeah, and I think you've actually articulated it quite well, right? I mean, or at least articulated the parallels between accessibility in the online space and then access and issues of that kind of globally. So that's my new frame of reference on that. And to me, it means making sure that people can access the information, including in the online world, but also the programs and then the infrastructure that they need. And again, there's clearly a really strong parallel there with the HopeAir mission. Again, I think accessibility ultimately means equality, and it means making sure that people can get what they need in the way that they need to access it. And for us, that's very different, right? For us, that's yes to Braille on a business card, and yes to our website being best in class as accessiBe allows us to be in terms of, variable content for different needs. But really, it also means removing barriers, I guess, for Canadians in accessing healthcare, and again, in all of those ways that people experience accessibility.
And John, when we're talking on that subject, a lot of our work references about making the business community more aware about the need to make everything accessible and as inclusive as possible. What are some of the kind of tips or advice that you give to businesses when they're looking, let's say, to partner up with you on how to get more involved in being more inclusive and accessible?
Yeah, I hate to repeat an answer, but I think it is something that we've already kind of touched on. And to me, it's just pausing to reflect that there are other lived experiences, and that while you might not think of your primary client or your target audience as somebody with accessibility needs, whatever those may be, those needs exist. And it's important to put yourself in the headspace or the situation, the lived experience of someone who might have those needs, right? As a marketer, we do that all the time when it comes to understanding our audience and how they might react to, ad X or copy Y in an email. But I don't know that we all go as far as to say, and how will you experience this if you have accessibility issues? And so it's just applying that same lens and the skills that we've all developed in leading business or being marketers or whatever craft it is you apply, and making sure that it's inclusive when you do that.
I really like that answer, and especially like the example you give of email X and add Y, and you think how this person may react, but you also don't always think about how inclusive it's going to be.
Well, I'll tell you, Elan, I did a little bit of prep for this interview, and I had a few canned answers for you, but that one was not canned. I developed it on the fly, and I like it too, right? And I think it's resonant. I do that every single day, and even in this conversation, I'm admitting I don't apply the lens of accessibility issues every single day to those emails, to our website, to things like that. And I think again, we have the skills. We just need to make sure that we're broadening our frame of reference.
And that's also just a great show of humility, and that's also part of being inclusive, is recognizing that we don't always have the answers or the right answers, and that it's very much a journey. John, really my last question is, anybody who would like to connect with HopeAir, learn about the mission, partner up, or even connect with you and kind of learn about kind of best-in-class marketing, how can you and HopeAir be reached?
Yeah, so you can find us online at hopeair.ca, HOPE-air.ca. And depending on when you choose to access that site, you'll see something brand new and flashy with the accessiBe app installed. And if you'd like to connect with me, it's just J Collins, COLLINS, at hopeair.ca.
Awesome. Well, John, I really enjoyed this conversation, and definitely hope that you and I stay in touch, because I see there's a lot of parallels in our work. And again, thank you very much for bringing your insights and also bringing HopeAir to the Spotlight sessions.
Absolutely. Thanks. It was a pleasure for me too.
Cheers.